Welcome to the show. Now, don't you wish you had a simple checklist of the things that you need to buy a home? Well, after 375 podcast episodes for a show called How to Buy a Home, I'm pretty sure that we can do that for you. This is part 2 of the 2025 version of that checklist. List time, let's go.
How to Buy a Home educates, protects, and connects first-time homebuyers to qualified vetted realtors in their area. Whether you're looking for DIY information or step-by-step guidance, How to Buy a Home is the #1 resource for first-time homebuyers.
What is happening, my How to Buy a Homies? David Sidoni here in my air conditioning because it's summer. Now, I was going to do an in-depth market update today for the summer 2025, but I've been looking at the data for the last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I got to tell you, not much has changed. There really hasn't been that much going on since the last time I gave you an update. That's because the housing market right now, summer 25, is the biggest stall, frozen, nada. I mean, nothing's happening. We're pretty much sitting with everybody completely freaked out. And this is the biggest plateau that I've seen in 20 years. What we're seeing is a game of chicken out there while everybody waits to see if interest rates drop. So if you're preparing to buy a home someday, this is a great time to work on your own personal rent replacement strategy by setting up your last lease ever program. That's episode 355 if you want the guidelines on that. Get on it, build a plan right now. And when you're ready to start home shopping, I know that everybody's looking for clarity. They want confidence to make sure they're doing it right. So today I'm going to give you part 2 of the super checklist that I've created. Part 1, that was episode 373, focused on home shopping, financing, negotiations, and inspections. Now, I also gave you a lot of other full episodes that you could use as supplements to that and references for these same topics and going much deeper. Today, I'm going to keep going with the rapid fire. And the tips today are going to be on credit score, neighborhood sleuthing, a few more tips on loans and financing, negotiating, and then I'm going to wrap up with a checklist for what to do immediately after you get your offer accepted. Rapid fire, let's go. All right, homies, we're going to start with your credit score. Now, this one is so crucial to buying your first home. I don't care if you have a 500 credit score or an 830, you need to do some research on this. And the key to all of it is doing that as early as possible. Because everything that you do, whether it's big fixes or little tweaks, when it comes to your credit score, the more time that you're working on it, the better your results. So step 1, before you research interest rates, loan approvals, neighborhoods, or you even do 1 minute of dream shopping on Zillow, start with your credit score. The list I'm going to give today is a very, very mini teaser list. So check the show notes because we have full credit score information on full episodes that we've been doing for 6 years. First up, yes, you can buy a home with a credit score as low as 580. But what I say all the time is, should you? I mean, the better plan is to start today working on everything and starting immediately with your credit scores. You can raise your score while you save up, while you work on your debt, while you work on your finances, while you start the entire realtor interviewing and loan shopping process. Next tip, forget the apps. There's only one place where you should be going to check things out. It's annualcreditreport.com. And you can check it once a week right now. It used to be 3 times a year. Now you can check it once a week to see what's happening on your entire credit report, not just your score. So you're not just looking at a number. Another tip, there are errors on your credit report. I hear anywhere from 30 to 40. Some people even say 77% of credit reports contain mistakes. So the earlier you find these, the sooner you can dispute them with the credit bureaus. Speaking of the credit bureaus and credit scores, last time that I checked with a professional, there were 28 credit scores. And there's a brand new one called Vantage, which is coming out this year. That's not even FICO. It's Vantage, something totally different. So all those apps out there, a lot of times they're giving you a score based on what works best for them so they could sell you something that's going to help you increase your credit score. If you want someone to look at the actual score that the actual banks who loan actual money for actual homes, yes, that's a lot of actuals, but that's the point. You literally need to know the one score that the banks look at, not the ones that you get sent on an app. So get with a pro, find that out early, and start fixing things. Next tip on credit scores, Never cancel credit cards. Ever, ever, ever. No, no, no. History, how long you've had credit, is a big part of your credit score. So if you're thinking about doing a credit card consolidation and you want to buy a home at some point, realize that's going to close all of those credit cards, which means you now lost all that history. So don't do that just because you're freaking out until you've talked to a lender and work through both plans. See if you can maybe find some ways to keep some of them open and still not drown in your debt. And then the biggest tip that I give to anybody, something I didn't learn until later in life. Well, actually, I learned it early, but I never did it. Boy, I'm acting like some of you guys out there. It's called becoming an authorized user. This is gold. If you don't know about it, go check the show notes and look at the other episodes or listen to the other episodes where I talk about becoming an authorized user. Basically, you become a user on someone else's card who has a good standing credit card with lots of high usage on it, or reverse that, low usage, high potential usage. But what you're really looking for is not just that big amount of credit that you could be using, it's the history. Get on mom, dad, grandma, grandpa's card, even better. Suddenly you get 30 years of history, and we've seen credit scores go up 50, 75, even 100 points in just a matter of weeks. And here's the tip for someone if you found us too late. If you didn't have a lot of time to work your score, and you've already got a realtor and a lender and you're out shopping for a home right now and you're like, I still got to wait 30, 60, 90 days for my credit score to improve, but I need to buy a house this month. There's something called a rapid rescore. Ask your lender about it. For usually less than a couple $100, you can get your score up in 48 hours, not 60 or 90 days. But if you're out there and you're listening to this today, please heed the advice. Start all these credit tips months, even years before you start writing offers, and then you'll never have to do a rapid rescore. There's just far too much on credit scores for me to list here, and this is absolutely crucial to your home buying. So start with the credit score episodes in the show notes like yesterday. Okay, next topic we're going to talk about today, a few more tips for your checklist for home shopping and neighborhood research. Make sure you use Google Street View to virtually walk the neighborhoods before you visit them in person. Some of the things I look at are the cars, the lawns, the fences, the patios. We're basically checking out curb appeal. There's also a great site, walkscore.com. I think it's part of one of the big ones now, realtor.com or Redfin or somebody, but look up walkscore.com so you can see how walkable any address is. Another tip, check your commute times during rush hour with Google Maps so you can see real-world traffic patterns. All you got to do is punch in the address of like your work and where you want to go, between 6 and 9 in the morning and between 4 and 8 o'clock at night. And if you want to really check out the parking, do a drive-by of the homes that you like after 6 p.m. on weekdays. Here's another one for your checklist. It's a myth that I would like to bust. There's a lot of people online, especially in Reddit, saying, oh, you really want to know what's going on? Talk to the neighbors to get the real scoop on the neighborhoods. Here's the truth bomb about the neighbors. God bless them. But after 20 years of working with first-time home buyers, neighbors, their information falls into 3 categories: 25%, 25%, and 50%. 25% of the time, they have some really good, correct, useful information. The other 25% of the time, well, they confirm something that we already knew. And 50% of the time, and this is not an exaggeration, they're dead wrong. So take whatever the neighbors say with a grain of salt and verify it. Your next tip is to make sure you look up the school ratings. Even if you don't have kids, you're never going to have kids because a strong school district often means higher resale value. And you can also, if you're never going to have kids, use that to the opposite. If you like the neighborhood, but it's not necessarily a great school district or in the right school boundaries, you might be able to get a better deal. Another thing that you can search while you're looking at neighborhoods is look at local zoning maps online. What you're looking for is to identify planned developments. Check the city planning websites. Basically, you're just trying to find out if a town is up and coming, or perhaps maybe it's going the other direction and they're going to turn it into a bunch of strip malls and parking lots. But you might be able to find some of that information out checking the city planning websites. You also want to look up noise ordinances and restrictions in the area. You want to avoid surprises later on. Check the flood zones at FEMA Flood Map Service Center. And then when you're out and about, I tell people all the time, walk through open houses even if you're not ready to buy yet. This can help you practice evaluating properties. And one little tip with that, once you meet and you've got your realtor, ask them for business cards, put them in your pocket, put them in your car, put them by the front door if you walk out and go look at open houses, because the real estate agents at the open houses, they are going to pounce on you. So you hand them a card and say, this is my realtor. Then you can tour the home pressure-free. Another tip is once you're out looking at homes, if you have the opportunity, try to tour some homes midweek. There's less competition and it gives you a little more breathing space to check out the home. Now, this next thing on your checklist is a little tricky. This one comes with a patented how to buy a home caveat. This tip is only to be used under the guidance of a professional. Do not attempt this on your own or without years and years of looking at homes online, or you're going to end up walking into homes that are truly scary. I mean, serious dumps. But here's the tip. With the right support and getting the guidance from someone who understands and knows how to interpret photos online, you can consider some homes even if they have the crappiest photos you've ever seen, or if it's staged awful. This is why. Because sometimes if you know what to look for, they're not all fixers or money pits or hellholes. Because remember this fact, 87% of realtors quit the profession in less than 5 years, which means 87% of realtors out there, they kind of suck at their job. But doesn't mean they still don't sell houses. I mean, you got to think about, if they sell 1 or 2 houses a year, it might be their sisters or their best friends or their cousins. And maybe if that's all they're selling and they're trying this out, maybe they can't afford a decent photographer. So they take the photos themselves and the photos suck. So maybe you're going to be finding a diamond that looks like, a giant lump of coal. So work with your unicorn realtor to learn how to sniff out the hidden values with terrible photos that look like an 8-year-old took them. Another great tip for your checklist. Keep an eye on back on the market listings. Now, sometimes people think, well, I'm never going to look at that. That means someone looked at the house and it had a huge problem with the inspection. 80% of the time, deals fall out because these buyers' financing fell out, not issues with the property. And if that happened to that seller could be desperate. Another tip, during a hot market, be ready to submit your offer as soon as you walk out the door. Get your digital contract signing game on point. Okay, and then I saw this and I had to comment on it. I saw a bunch of people saying, hey, make sure you take a measuring tape to all your showings and viewings of homes because you want to make sure your furniture and your fridge fit. No, I can't say it more definitively. Just no. If you're out buying a $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 home, condo, townhome, whatever, and you're making the decision based on an item that costs under $1,000 or under a few $1,000s, heck, even under $10,000, what are you doing? Do not pick a home based on if your furniture is going to fit. Now, if all the bedrooms are 7 feet by 7 feet and you can't fit a bed in there, that's something different. If you spend all of your life in the living room and you have to have a couch that fits for your family, that's fine. But don't make it the couch you have in your apartment. Have the idea in your head of what you'd like, but please make sure that you're buying a home for the home and understand that you can adjust. You want to get the deal in the home, its location, and everything it entails. The deal isn't, oh, awesome, my sweet leather couch and plasma TV will fit here. All right, moving on to a few more tips for financing and mortgages, things you can put on your checklist. Dude, I saw an article today that said 70% of people still think you need at least 10% down payment to buy a home. That is so not true. The average right now is about 8%, and that's the average for first-time home buyers. And every year we see tens of thousands here at How to Buy a Home that buy a home with 3 or 5% down payment. And that's a regular conventional loan. There's an FHA loan that's at 3.5% that is very popular with first-time home buyers, even with credit scores in the 600s. And yes, if you're using a VA loan, which is for veterans, military, current active, or past veterans, that's a 0% down payment with no PMI. So no, 70% of you out there, you do not need 10% down to buy a home. Speaking of the numbers, If you haven't listened to episode 355 on renting versus buying, you can get the real numbers by listening to that episode. Next one for your checklist, make sure you understand PMI for reals, not the old myths about it. People say it's the devil. It's not. Check the show notes for episodes on that. Okay, here's something I haven't talked to you guys about in a little while. It's called a good faith estimate, a GFE. This is for all you spreadsheet enthusiasts. You know, you people who are counting down every last penny, get ready, because the process for closing on your home, you're going to get a good faith estimate of all your closing costs, and it's going to be high, and you will have a coronary. This is normal. This is absolutely, totally, 100% the way it goes, and there's no changing it. Several years ago, they passed a law that said that the lenders have to have high estimates. They can't be low and then sandbag you when they bring you the actual closing costs. So that means the pendulum swung the other way, and now you get this really high GFE, a good faith estimate. That way, the lender can't surprise you later on. And the law is, if that GFE, if that estimate that you get is too low, the lender has to pay out of pocket for the difference. So they're going to be high because the lenders don't want to pay for that. So get ready. Best way to do it is discuss the potential refunds that you could get after your closing with your lender so you get a more clear number and that GFE doesn't freak you out. But I'm telling you right now, you're going to go back and remember when you get it, you're going to go, oh yeah, Sidoni told me I was going to freak out. And I am freaking out looking at this right now. So this is your fair warning. Make sure that you're ready for it. The next tip is make sure you understand debt to income ratio. Learn to calculate DTI and know that balance is something that you're going to need to do between reducing your debt and building your savings. And I highly recommend you don't do this on your own. Another tip, this is a deal killer. Right before you're under contract or while you're under contract, absolutely avoid any new purchases. You shouldn't buy the furniture until you close on the home. That's a big one. And definitely don't be saving up for a year and then decide to buy a new car a month before you're going to go out and go home shopping. That's going to completely mess up your DTI. And a good way to do that is get yourself a team. You can start with a unicorn realtor. You can get one from us here, or you can go find one on your own. And then ask them for a lender recommendation. So you find a lender with the most first-time homebuyer experience who treats you like a valued client, not a number. I know the internet tells you to go out and get pre-approved first, but that's the secret here at How to Buy a Home. Start with the realtor, ask them for lender suggestions, build a team that all knows each other and all is working with your best interest at heart. And when you have a relationship like this, well, then you can learn about tips like this one. Did you know that in today's market, if you've got a high car payment and it's affecting your debt to income ratio, your DTI, let's say you got a $700 a month car payment. Do you know that's going to drop your home loan approval, how much loan you could get approved for, by $100,000? So if you didn't have that payment and your loan approval would be worth $100,000 more. But did you know this? Because a car loan is an installment loan with an end date in sight and not a revolving loan, for most lenders, if you're 10 months or less from paying it off, like you've still got 8-9 months left of $700 a month, most of the time you can get that payment removed from your DTI calculations, which means you're going to get approved for $100,000 more in your home loan. That's the kind of stuff that a professional, experienced, first-time home buyer advocate team can do for you. Next up, some more tips on making offers and negotiation strategies. The first one's easy. Be done with your finances first. Do not be scrambling because you went and looked at an open house and now you got to get all your finances together. No, do everything months ahead of time before you even start touring any homes. When you start writing offers on starter homes, your competition, many of them have been out there doing this already. They've already lost bidding wars. This could be their third or fourth offer. So you have to be on point ahead of time so you can react quickly and become a contender for a home that maybe you find pretty darn quickly. So to do that, here's some tips. Ask your realtor for a copy of the contract before you start writing offers. That way you'll have looked at it and you'll be able to know what's coming. Also, ask them or take some time yourself and listen to the episodes and learn about the appraisal process and the appraisal gap strategy in writing your offers. And you also want to talk to your realtor about what can you do to fix your terms, about tightening up your timelines and other tricks that they can help you with to make your offer look more professional and more enticing to the seller. In a competitive offer, some tips that I talk about, and again, the bidding war episodes are in the show notes, so you can check them out. But one of the tips is avoiding round numbers in your offers, especially your counter offers. If you think everyone's going to go up to $450, instead of you just offering $450 as well, offer $451, $500. It'll make you stand out. Another tip is to offer the largest earnest money deposits. Now, the reason you do that is to show that you're serious about this. And if you have faith in your team, it's fully refundable during the contingency period. Next tip is to learn about escalation clauses. In competitive markets, this can help you to kind of auto bid your counteroffer to a certain limit that you preset with your realtor and you put down on paper to show the seller you're serious. Another thing is review the seller's occupancy plans. You know, there's a thing called a rent back where you can close on the home, but you can rent back the home to the sellers of the property so they have more time to move out. And that could be the thing that actually makes your offer stand out above everyone else. If it's the same price, because remember, real estate's always about two things, money and time. So don't get so hung up on just your price. Make sure you're working those terms because the time of your offer could be the thing that puts you over the top, which means, of course, you've got to do the pre-planning way ahead of time, figuring out breaking your lease, what you're going to do, maybe go month to month, or being okay with being flexible with your move-in dates, because the more you appeal to the seller's time, then the more flexible they're going to be on money and the less the home will cost you. Another tip when you're writing your offer, make sure that you confirm the way the property taxes work. Here in California, we've got something called Mello-Roos in some areas, which is just a bill that got passed, which means certain areas have extra taxes. So check out your taxes. Another thing, if you're going to be requesting something in the negotiations, once you've got the home happening, maybe instead of requesting exact credits or repairs on stuff that you found, maybe request some of the appliances or the furniture that you gave up in your initial offer. Another thing, verify school district assignments directly with the schools. Don't trust what realtors say. Don't trust what the seller says. Verify the school district with the district office. While you're doing that, make sure you check to see if there's historic district rules that might apply to your home. A lot of times you get a tax break if your home's in one of those areas. Make sure in your offer that you have confirmed all of the fixtures that are going to be coming with the home. We're talking about ceiling fans, chandeliers, televisions, television mounts. That's really important. Patio furniture, potted plants, mirrors in the bathroom. Anything that you think, well, that's got to come with the home. Double check and make sure it's written in the offer before you and your realtor submit it. And then this is a different one, something I over the last 10 years has been really important to people. In the last 5 years, it's been super important. Confirm the cable and internet service availability with those companies before you write an offer if you work remotely and the internet is your world. I've seen people get halfway through the inspection period and go, the internet here sucks. I can't buy this house. I work from home. So check that out. There's more on this stuff in the show notes. Check there if you want to get more detailed episode. I'm going to wrap things up today with a little checklist that you can just save. This is as soon as your offer gets accepted. These are things that you need to prepare for. Prepare to be busy. The first 2 weeks from the day your offer gets accepted until the day that you remove your contingencies, don't make any plans in the evening. You will not have time. You have a part-time job for the next 2 weeks. Get ready for it. For your checklist, once you get your offer accepted, get your initial general inspection as soon as possible. I mean, as soon as you can. That's the first thing you set up. Because if there's something that you find there, you want to have time in your contingency condition period to do extra inspections if needed. Third thing, this is going to be a part-time job. So plan for vacation days or sick days or PDOs, half days. Plan that that's going to be happening during this period while you're under contract. Something else you should do is check the insurance claim history on the property. You can do this using something called a clue report. Another thing is if you're going to be using money from someplace besides just your regular savings account, like 401s, stocks, Bitcoin, cashing out investments, a gift from family, wherever, if it's not just sitting in your bank account, move that money ASAP. There are some money market managers that actually take up to 3 weeks to move money out of certain retirement benefits. There are some money managers that can take up to 3 weeks to move money, even though they tell you, yeah, you can totally use this for the purchase of a primary home, but it takes 3 weeks to get it. So you want to do that as soon as your offer is accepted. Another good tip is check with your lender about a float down option. That means once you lock in your rate, if the rates go down during the time that you are under contract, sometimes your specific loan programs will have the option to float down to that lower rate before you close. Here's another big one. Shop your homeowner's insurance early. You're going to need it if you have a loan on the property, and it's up to you to go out and do the shopping to find the best insurance that's going to work for you. Now, that leads me to another giant myth about homeownership in 2025, because right now the news is filled with stories about homeowners insurance, saying that this is the death of the housing market and that, you know what, everything's going to crash with these new greedy insurance companies. Okay, let me break through the rumors and the headlines here. The bad news is, yeah, the rumors are partially true, and the insurance companies kind of suck. And right now, homeowners insurance is more expensive than it's ever been and tougher to get. The good news is this is a louder story now, but it's not a new story. This has been going on for at least 5 years. I mean, here in California, back in 2022, our wildfires happened and insurance companies cited that the cost of doing business was too expensive, and big companies like Allstate completely left California altogether. And other companies like State Farms, Farmers, Nationwide, pretty much any insurance company with a jingle that you can sing, well, they either left California or they drastically limited or reduced the policies that were available here. So that means the insurance crisis has been happening in the state that has, a gigantic economy for 3-4 years. And at the same time, the housing market in 2023, we hit 8% interest rates. So that should have meant that during that crazy time when insurance was, leaving and people were paying through the nose for it and interest rates were at 8%, the market should have crashed. But it didn't. It slowed down at the end of 2023, and then 2024, we picked back up, and now we're in this weird plateau. But nothing's crashed. So it's not impossible to buy a home with a new insurance. Plenty of first-time homebuyers have been able to buy fully insured homes. Don't be fooled by the overhyped pessimism. The people who can't find an affordable solution, including the insurance issues, unfortunately, they're just not getting the right guidance. And, I'm just one man on a mic trying to get this correct information out there. So check the show notes for more details. Put together your checklist. I've got one more show for the checklist, so stay tuned. Check your podcast feed. Part 3 is going to be coming soon. You can do this.
Looking for more DIY education or your own personal step-by-step guidance through the home buying journey? Since 2019, How to Buy a Home has been the #1 resource for first-time home buyers. So visit howtobuyaHome.com to get started.